Hi, I'm Phil from Arizona Rock and Mineral Company, and we had a video on how our hopper cars operate and opening device. And this will be part 2 because I've added what we call remote control to it, so you can control it through the bench work. But briefly, what I'm going to do is show you again the hopper car. It has, can we turn it by the light? Okay, here's what our hopper cars look like again. I had dies that make template doors. There's a brass tube soldered to the door, and a music wire pin goes through, and there's a hole in each one of these little brass side plates that hold the doors in perfect position. This car uses ceramic magnets, and when the doors are open, the opener will open them up, and hopefully the magnets will pull them shut. I use the original Athearn wheel sets because they roll nice and free. I don't worry about the metal axles, that's not a problem. And they come equipped with kadee number 5 couplers. And they're pretty much fine-tuned to make sure they work well. Now these cars sell for $30 a piece, all ready to go. And I'll show you the opener again real quickly like we had in the other video. I wanted to keep this real simple. This Cadillac opener that I had years ago, it'll never derail a car with this one. It's very, very precise. You can see how the ties are cut away, and you have to have a way to have the pins sweep in and open the car doors. A couple Rick's Rack switch machines throw up pawls to hold the car straight, and that's why the car would have a center pin to hold it still. But now this device works okay too without all that elaborate setup, because your car is going to stay coupled in your train. When you open the doors, they'll move a little bit, but overall they'll stay in position. Now these openers are made out of all brass. I make them one at a time up in my workbench. And I came up with this invention because I needed to have something simple, stupid, so you people could afford it. And there's a lot of solder on it. That don't matter. I just want to make sure that thing never comes apart. Now this will become virtually invisible once it's on the layout. And you will get a couple holes drilled in yours to mount it to a board with screws. Now there's plenty of wire here so you can bend it for your remote control. Now let me show you that. The first one I built was in the layout and it didn't have remote control wires on it. It's a little hard to add the wires once it's in place, but this one I made on the bench top. I use kadee 3 track, and I prefer that you would use Atlas Flex Track because you have to get rid of some of the ties, but you don't want these ties to break loose, and Atlas tracks have better spikes, heavier spikes to keep the ties from coming loose. You can see how it's mounted to the board. The height of the board is arbitrary. This is 2.5 inches. That's so it matches the drop and the layout, the depression of the layout. It becomes mounted solidly to the layout because you don't want any of this to move around, so it becomes part of the bench work. On the back side here, you can see we have a cable that operates the doors. I get these springs here from the hardware store. I use brass tube for cable guides. The cable is actually 15 thousandths music wire, and you can make attachments to the music wire by making loops and run it through a piece of teeny brass tubing and solder it in place. And I do that on this end too for your handles. I put a piece of heat shrink tube in there so the wire don't bite into your fingers. Now you see the board is cut away here. That gives room for the cables to operate. This you have to build yourself. We'll furnish a drawing and a plan to help you through it so you know how to do it. Okay, let's get on with our loading coal again. Here we have our train here by the unloader. And we're going to make this a retail coal business where the railroad brings in coal and then they sell the coal to homeowners for heating or industry, whatever. So it's a rather small unloading facility, and we have 5 cars lined up here, which is probably more coal than this place can hold. However, this time around I'm going to use my medium coal. It's a little bit bigger than the fine coal I had before, and it's less likely to leak through the doors or make a mess. Put that to the side. Okay, we'll back up. We'll get this train positioned here again. Okay, I have to move it forward a little bit. A little bit more. You want to make sure this center rib lines up between these two ties. If you don't, I think I need a better train operation. If you don't do that, those pins that come up and sweep the ties will catch the axle of the car. Now you don't see it, but I'm going to be pulling the wire. I have to move the train back a little bit. Catch the other door. Okay, all the coal doesn't come out. And you can use a little brush to sweep it out, but I prefer to have a little air blast system here. That's brass box tubing and brass tubes, and it's hooked up to an air supply. Right now I'd have to run my air compressor to make it work, and that makes too much noise. Okay, I'm going to go and back off one more car. I got to make sure these doors are shut before I move the train. There's a problem here with that switch. Again, we're going to line up that center of the car with those two ties. Now carefully move to make sure I'm not disturbing any car axles. Looks like I did. I don't want to do that. That's where that other machine is much better. Okay, there's virtually two cars worth of coal right there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how I sweep it up. Okay, just leave the camera there. And I'm going to take my Chinese paintbrush. Ready? Just take my old Chinese paintbrush here and use a piece of cardstock material as a dustpan. And I'm going to put the coal right back in these cars. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a coal in a container. That's what I'll do. And then after I get this coal in this container, we're going to show you what my tipple looks like when we load the cars. Because that's where this coal would go, to refill my tipple again. But it don't need coal right now, it's full. Okay, we'll move on and we'll go down to the tipple. Right here is our coal tipple, and I'm going to take the roof off, and you can see that it's full of number 3 coal right now. And the way we operate that tipple is we have a little control panel right here with manual rods and levers. I got to remember which one is what. So you can raise or lower the chutes. Now you can't just have the chutes down all the time, because when you're pulling a train through, the chute will bump on the cupola of the caboose. So you have the ability to raise it up. So right now for loading coal, we're going to put it all the way down, and the engineer would position this train so that we're going to load the front of the car first. You see that coal coming in there? And you can slowly creep your train ahead. My boys used to do this down in Phoenix, and they'd load these cars on the fly. And they'd raise the chute every time they went to the next car. So that's how that works. Now I don't want to get into selling these right now, because it's a lot of work. I sold probably 50 of these kits here 20 years ago. They're made out of template, and of course this has been tricked out with more detail than the ones I sold. But it's all lever operated, and you can load 18 cars from this tipple because of the 2-track loading facility. That's it.